A Ukrainian drone operator sits in a concealed position 3 kilometers behind the front line. He's wearing FPV goggles. The view in his headset shows a dirt road, tree lines, and a camouflaged building that Russian forces think is hidden. It's not. Ukrainian intelligence identified this building 2 days ago as a forward command post. Signals intercepts confirmed Russian officers are inside coordinating artillery strikes. The operator has been waiting for this window. He launches. The drone weighs less than 2 pounds. It's a modified racing quadcopter with $400 in parts and 1 kilogram of high explosives strapped underneath. The operator pushes the throttle forward. The drone accelerates to 60 miles per hour in seconds. He's flying first-person view. Everything the drone's camera sees, he sees. He flies low, 10 feet off the ground, fast. The Russian air defense systems scanning for threats aren't looking here. They're looking up. They're looking for jets, for cruise missiles, for something that fits their doctrine. This doesn't fit. The flight takes 4 minutes. The operator navigates around a tree line, drops lower near a creek bed, then climbs to clear a fence. He can see Russian soldiers outside the building, 2 of them smoking, 1 on a radio. They don't hear the drone. The sound is lost in the noise of generators and distant artillery. The operator lines up his approach. He's done this 17 times before. 12 successful strikes, 5 misses. This one won't miss. He aims for the window on the 2nd floor. The building has reinforced walls, but windows are windows. The drone crosses the final 100 meters in 6 seconds. The soldiers outside don't react until the last moment. One looks up. Too late. The drone passes through the window opening. The operator sees the interior for half a second. Tables, maps, Russian officers looking up in shock. Then he triggers the detonation. The explosion isn't massive. 1 kilogram of explosives in a confined space. But inside that room, it's devastating. The command post goes dark. Communications cut. 3 Russian officers are dead. 2 more critically wounded. The artillery strikes they were coordinating stop immediately because no one is left to give fire commands. Ukrainian forces 2 kilometers away were about to be shelled. Now they're not. The entire Russian operational plan for this sector just collapsed because a $400 drone flew through a window. This isn't one incident. This is happening every single day across the front line. Ukrainian drone operators are hitting Russian command posts, ammunition storage, artillery positions, vehicle concentrations. The Russians know it's happening. They see the drones. They hear them sometimes, but they can't stop them. And that's the operational reality that's changing this war. Here's why Russian air defenses fail against these strikes. The drones fly too low and too small for radar systems designed to intercept aircraft and missiles. A Pantsir air defense system costs $15 million. It can track and engage targets at altitude, but it's optimized for threats coming from above. Helicopters, jets, cruise missiles. An FPV drone flying 10 feet off the ground at 100 miles per hour in the terminal phase isn't in its engagement envelope. The radar either doesn't see it or can't track it long enough to get a firing solution. By the time the system registers a threat, the drone is already past it or impacting the target. Russian forces tried deploying short-range systems closer to the front. Verba man-portable missiles, Zu-23 anti-aircraft guns. It doesn't work. The Verba needs infrared lock. These small drones don't produce enough heat signature for reliable tracking. The Zu-23 needs visual acquisition and manual tracking. Soldiers hear the drone, look around, try to locate it, and it's already past them. You can't track something moving 100 miles per hour when you don't know where it's coming from until it's 50 meters away. So the Russians adapted. They started using electronic warfare, jamming systems to disrupt drone control signals. This works against some drones. Ukrainian forces use commercial DJI drones for reconnaissance, and those can be jammed. The GPS signal gets disrupted, the control link breaks, the drone either crashes or returns to launch point. But FPV drones operate differently. The operator maintains direct line-of-sight radio control. It's the same frequency system used by racing drones. 2.4 GHz or 5.8 GHz analog video. You can jam it, but you need to know the exact frequency, and you need powerful directional jamming right in the drone's path. Russian forces don't have that capability at every position, and even when they do, Ukrainian operators switch frequencies or use different approach vectors. The operational pattern is consistent. Ukrainian intelligence identifies a high-value target through signals intercepts or aerial reconnaissance. They confirm Russian command personnel are present. Drone operators move into launch positions. They coordinate timing. Sometimes it's a single drone. Sometimes it's 3 or 4 hitting from different directions within seconds of each other. The goal isn't always to destroy the entire building. The goal is to kill or wound the officers inside and disrupt command operations long enough for Ukrainian ground forces to exploit the confusion. One documented strike in October 2024 near Bakhmut illustrates this perfectly. Ukrainian forces identified a Russian brigade headquarters in a reinforced building. Standard structure. Thick walls. The kind of place that can take indirect fire from mortars and remain operational. Ukrainian artillery couldn't reliably hit it without wasting dozens of shells. A cruise missile could destroy it, but Ukraine doesn't waste cruise missiles on tactical targets when they need them for strategic infrastructure, so they used drones. 4 FPV drones launched from different positions. 3 carried explosives. 1 carried a camera for battle damage assessment. They timed the strikes for 600 hours when the Russian command staff was conducting morning briefings. All 3 explosive drones hit within 20 seconds of each other. 2 entered through windows. 1 detonated against an external wall near a ventilation opening. The assessment drone confirmed secondary explosions, likely ammunition or fuel stored inside. Russian radio traffic went silent for 6 hours. When it resumed, Ukrainian signals intelligence detected chaos, junior officers trying to re-establish command, requests for medical evacuation, confusion about who was in charge. Ukrainian forces used that window to advance 800 meters and take positions the Russians couldn't effectively defend without coordinated fire support. That's the strategic impact that matters. It's not about the explosion, it's about what happens after. Russian forces lose their coordination. Artillery doesn't fire because no one is directing it. Infantry units don't know whether to hold position or fall back because they're not receiving orders. Logistics break down because supply officers are dead or wounded and no one knows what was already requested or delivered. The whole system seizes up. Not permanently, Russian forces reconstitute command eventually, but for hours or sometimes days, and in modern combat, hours matter. Russian military bloggers confirm this pattern. They don't call them drone strikes in official reports. They call them unfortunate incidents or tragic losses. But the pattern is unmistakable. Senior officers dying in supposedly secure rear positions. Command posts relocating constantly. Orders for personnel to stay away from windows. Instructions to disperse command functions across multiple buildings instead of centralizing them. All of this reduces operational efficiency. Decentralized command sounds good in theory, but it slows decision-making and creates coordination problems. The economics are brutal. Ukraine spends $400 on a drone. Russia loses a command post worth hundreds of thousands of dollars in equipment, vehicles, communications gear. But more importantly, Russia loses the personnel. Training a battalion commander takes years. Training a staff officer takes years. You can't replace that quickly. Kill or wound enough of them, and the entire command structure degrades. Junior officers take over who don't have the experience or authority to coordinate complex operations. Mistakes multiply. Opportunities get missed. Units operate in isolation instead of as coordinated formations. Ukrainian operators know this. They're not just flying drones for tactical effects. They're targeting the Russian military's ability to think and coordinate. Every successful command post strike cascades into operational paralysis. Russian forces adapt by going underground, operating from bunkers and basements. That helps survivability, but it isolates commanders from the battlefield. They can't see what's happening. They rely on radio reports that might be hours old. Decision-making slows. Responses to Ukrainian maneuvers become reactive instead of proactive. And the strikes keep coming. Ukrainian drone production is scaling up. Small workshops across the country assembling thousands of FPV drones per month. Operators training in realistic scenarios. Tactics evolving based on what works. Russian forces have no effective counter yet. They're trying. They're deploying more jamming systems. They're trying to shoot drones down with small arms fire. They're relocating command functions constantly. But none of it stops the fundamental problem. A determined operator with a $400 drone can kill a Russian colonel in his own headquarters. This is the warfare asymmetry that Russia didn't plan for. Their doctrine assumed conventional air defense would protect rear areas. Their doctrine assumed command posts could operate from semi-permanent positions. Their doctrine assumed they could concentrate forces without facing precision strikes on leadership nodes. All of those assumptions are failing because the threat doesn't match what they trained against. Watch the pattern repeat across the front line. Drone strike hits command post. Russian radio traffic stops or becomes confused. Ukrainian forces maneuver during the gap. Russian response is delayed or uncoordinated. Ukrainian forces consolidate gains. Russian command reconstitutes and tries again. Next day, another drone finds another command post. The cycle repeats. It's attritional warfare applied to leadership instead of manpower, and it's working. The footage is public. Ukrainian military channels release strike videos regularly. Not propaganda, evidence. The drone's camera records everything. You see the approach. You see the target. You see the impact. Sometimes you see Russian soldiers running after the explosion. Sometimes you see secondary detonations. The documentation is thorough because Ukraine wants Russian forces to know this is happening and know they can't stop it. Psychological operations run parallel to kinetic operations. This changes ground warfare fundamentally. For decades, military doctrine assumed rear areas were relatively safe once you established air defenses and pushed the front line forward. Commanders could operate from permanent headquarters with full staff and robust communications. That assumption is dead. Now every building with antennas is a target. Every concentration of vehicles draws attention. Every command post is temporary because staying in one place too long means a drone will find you. Russian forces are learning this lesson repeatedly, and the cost is measured in dead colonels and disrupted operations. The Ukrainian operator who flew that first strike is back in position the next day. Different target, same tactics. He's one of hundreds doing this across the theater. They don't make the news unless the target is particularly valuable. They don't get medals for every successful strike. They just keep flying, keep targeting, keep eroding Russian command effectiveness one $400 drone at a time. That's modern warfare. That's how Ukraine is fighting. And that's why Russian forces can't stabilize their command structure despite having more personnel, more equipment, and more resources. Because none of that matters if your commanders keep dying in buildings they thought were safe.